Hi, this is Helena Hart, and I'm talking with Teal Elisabeth again today. Teal is my friend and fellow relationship coach who helps women connect with their feminine energy and foster a deep self-love so they can create a lasting connection with their partners. And we are so excited. We're going to be talking about how to use your feminine energy to create a deep, lasting connection with a man. So welcome, Teal, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel again today.
Oh, it's so good to be here. Hey, Helena.
Yes, and I do want to mention that Teal has just gotten home from a year-long trip around the world with her fiance, so she has so much to share. She was telling me before we started recording that she's learned a lot over the past year, both in her own relationship, traveling around with her man, and in the work she's doing with her clients. So Teal, I'm so excited. What is the first thing you want to share on this topic on how to create a deep connection with a man using your feminine energy?
Hmm. Well, I really just have to say that traveling around the world with someone is is quite a feat, and it's not something that's anyone can just do. And so I feel like I've really learned a lot about what it takes to be in the presence of a man every single day, every single moment, over 365 days, and still keep your own identity within that relationship. And so that's really the first thing I want to talk about is whether you've been with your man for a long time or whether you're just dating and you're experiencing, being around a lot of men, it's really, really important to not lose yourself within the relationship. And it can be really, really easy to do. And I think that, femininity can get a bad rap. I mean, Helena, you have been, I feel like, busting all the myths around what femininity is. But I think sometimes it can get a bad rap as being seen as weak or kind of just pushed to the side or trying to accommodate or trying to like mold yourself into your man's life. And that's something that I just really, really want to also bust, is that being in your femininity is a place of strength. It's a place of independence, and it's a place of really, truly owning your own identity, but also incorporating in somebody else into that relationship. And that's something that's really important when you're with a man for a long time or in the beginning.
Absolutely. So how do you do that? Like, let's say I was a client of yours and I felt that I was sort of losing myself in a relationship. I mean, it happens all the time. I hear from women who say like things were really great at the beginning when the two of them sort of had their own lives. And then what happens is that kind of starts to slip away. She starts focusing on her man and what he's doing, or most often what he's not doing that she wished, he would do more of. And that really blocks the connection. So it is a little counterintuitive saying not losing yourself in order to foster a deep connection with a man. Can you speak a little more about that, and like any tips you have on how to not lose yourself in this process would be great.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I have to say, I used to be that way. Like, I would be so independent and so great, and I had my life, and I felt so secure and confident in who I was. And then something happens and something snaps, and you go, "Oh my God, I think I like this guy. Oh my gosh, I think there's something here," right? And your emotions get invested. And I think in that moment, that's when we start to let it slip away, because we love that feeling, and it can be like a drug that we don't want to let go of. But then we start sacrificing all the things that made us desirable in the beginning, all the things that the man really was attracted to in the beginning. And so I really encourage that when you are feeling that way and you're starting to feel like you're slipping or you're losing control, I guess, of yourself, and trying to cater to somebody else, or you're getting into anxious mode about thinking about what he's doing, really actually giving yourself some physical space. I don't think this is talked about enough, about actually allowing spaciousness within a relationship. And a lot of people can dance this line of codependency where they're wanting to hear from their man, or they're expecting their man to be texting them all the time, calling all the time, giving them that little bit of like security that, okay, like this is something good. But the most powerful, healthy relationship is formed when you really don't need this person in your life, that you really are okay regardless if they're in your life or not. And that's not playing games and saying like, I don't need you. It's actually like, I really care about you. I really love having you in my life, but I don't need you. And so when you give yourself that physical spaciousness, that could be just taking a few hours, taking a weekend trip with your girlfriends, even just going out on a date by yourself. I think that that's really important to help you just reconnect back to your center.
Yeah, I totally agree. I always talk about the importance of creating space. That's one really important part of your feminine energy and kind of reconnecting with yourself to allow room for a man to like step forward towards you. And that's the effect that I've seen creating space has on a man. And again, it's not a game and it's not a superficial strategy. It's not about being cold and just ignoring a guy's text messages or anything like that, right? It has to be authentic, like everything that we teach, right? And then, so what happens next? What would you have a woman do when a man does come towards her? Like, what are some tips you have to deepen that connection while staying connected to her own feminine energy?
Yeah. Men will feel the space. They will feel the space and they'll naturally either feel like I want to drift away and go off and do my own thing, or they're going to be like, oh, wait, I need to go closer. And when they come closer, this is your opportunity to really just dive into all the yummy feelings, right, in yourself. All the things that you just naturally have within you that's just cultivating that nurturing, that loving, that sweet side of yourself. I think that's something that in feminine energy, we don't really cultivate enough, because we're so caught up in the masculine of wanting to push forward and achieve our goals and get after it and be independent, that we forget about this other sweet side of ourselves. That's just the nurturing, the loving, the affectionate side. And I think that's really men's kryptonite, having that safety and that home base that they can come to and just know I can just sink into her presence.
Yeah, it's so important. I always say that the space is so huge, but it's actually not enough in and of itself. You also need the softness. I talk a lot about space and softness working in combination together at the same time, so that when a man does show up, it's like there's something to compel him to want to keep coming towards her. One question I get a lot with the softness side of this is like, well, what happens if I am feeling anxious or I am angry or upset with him about something? Maybe he went away for a while because they had an argument, and a woman feels like she's being inauthentic if when he comes back towards her, she doesn't feel necessarily super warm towards him in that moment. Do you have any tips on like how she could stay authentic and connected to her feminine energy and still bring him closer at the same time?
Oh, that is a great question, and so common. And yeah, absolutely. I always talk about emotions being the biggest indicators and really like being the messengers for how we are feeling on the inside. And if you're feeling that anxiousness or that tightness or constriction, what it's really communicating is that something is out of alignment with what you really are wanting from this relationship. And so it's not necessarily that this man has done something wrong. Maybe sometimes he has, but lots of times it's just an indicator that there's something that's just off. So I really recommend that if you're feeling in that closed off place, that's not the time to be having a conversation, because it's going to come from this just like icky place, and it's not going to be very open or loving or feminine. But to really honor the fact that these feelings are coming up, not try to push them down, but take extra space. Even if he's coming towards you, just honor where you're at and take extra space for yourself to really process through the feelings, let them come forth, journal them out, and figure out what is the message underneath this, right? And then once you've released the energy of the emotion, then you can come back to your man and have an open-hearted conversation about how you're feeling from what he's doing.
I really like how you put that. And also another thing just popped into my head right now. I have to say, one of the top questions I've been getting on my channel lately, I see it a lot in the comment sections of my videos on feminine energy, and even where I talk about space and softness, people are confused on how to actually create this softness. Like how does it look? What does it feel like? And like, how do you convey that to a man in a way that fosters that deep connection? I think you're probably the perfect person to like explain this a little bit, especially like with this topic in particular. So anything you have to say on softness, how to create it, what it looks like, I would love to hear.
Thank you. Well, I still remember back from when we were both getting trained under Roy Ray. She talks about this concept of being strong on the inside and soft on the outside. And I know you talk about this too. And it's such a powerful concept, because being soft in general isn't going to get you anywhere. Being soft then just becomes a pushover and a doormat. You have to have the strength on the inside. And so it's the cultivating of the strength, which is the self-love, the self-worthiness, the confidence, and just the inner knowing for yourself that I am okay no matter what. And when you have that to hold on to as your core, then you can open up the softness. If you don't have the softness, if you don't have the inner core, then that softness on the outside is just going to get squishy and floppy and fall over the place, right? But what it feels like when you're in that place is that you know that you are going to open up your heart. You're going to be vulnerable. You're going to share some things that you may not be feeling very good about, but you trust yourself. You trust yourself knowing that no matter what you say, you're going to be okay. And I think that's a big distinction.
I love that you brought in the strength, the inner strength, that which is counterbalanced by the softness on the outside. Something I've seen is that if a woman doesn't feel strong and secure within herself, like inside first, she tends to put walls up around her. Of course, I've been there. I think we all have in certain cases, right? You know, and so we want to reverse that. Rather than having these walls around yourself where no one can get in, right? Like nobody can get close to you. There's nothing to compel a man to keep coming towards you. If you have walls up, it's like, oh, I can't even get to her. That's when a guy might try for a little while. He might come on strong at the beginning, but if he can't like see who you are, right? If he just like can't get close to you emotionally, that's when he'll start to back off and pull away. So I love that you said strong and secure on the inside, soft, open, and receptive on the outside. So it's kind of like reversing that. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's like, you know, they have like sometimes ice cream with like the hard candy shell. It's like soft on the inside, strong on the outside, soft on the inside. I'm trying to think of something where it's like reverse, where it's soft on the outside.
Yeah,
What was that?
The peach, you've got your seed, your strong seed, and then you got your juicy, soft, fuzzy outside.
Wow. I love that. Like a peach. Perfect. Yes, yes, yes. Because I love what you said. Softness without boundaries and that strength on the inside is just, it's not going to get you anywhere. That's when you can be like so open and free flowing, but a guy might step all over your boundaries and he's not going to respect you. He's not going to value you.